Ever wonder what it takes to start a CPG brand, even if you have zero experience? How about what it takes to be on a show like Dragon's Den or learning about how to raise capital? Well, I promise you, this episode is for you. I speak with Megan Silk, who, along with her husband Bren, co founded Gingerbug. It's a brand that produces gut healthy, certified organic soda pop. You're going to love this episode, so get ready and let's go. Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another episode of the Maverick Makers podcast. So happy to welcome Megan Silk to the show. She is the co-founder of Gingerbug, all the way from Thornbury, Ontario. That's exciting. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. I'm so excited to talk to you about, your product. And I think I had like a really bad little analogy or story I was telling you about my past, where my dad had a shop downtown Toronto, and every Saturday he would take me to the shop, and it was in a very Jamaican area, and he would buy me a beef patty and a ginger beer, and that's a nice segue to your product, sort of ish. Less sugar, all that stuff, prebiotics. We'll talk about all that stuff. But anyways, so we're going to talk about all things Gingerbug, your journey, and just get right into it. And one of my first questions that I love asking is, tell me about some of the mavericks in your life. Who do you admire? Who has paved the way for you? Let me know about that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of starting our business, I have had so many people inspire me and open doors for us, and I'm really into learning about other entrepreneurs and their stories. So, I mean, there's way too many people to even mention. Me personally, if I had to say, some of the people that really shaped who I am, it would probably go back to like the most important women in my life, starting with my grandma, who was like an incredible networker. And I think I got that skill from her. Growing up, I would see her talk to every single person in our tiny town. And I just naturally became like that. And I've taken that into the business world, and it's done me well. So thank you to my grandma Abby for that. And then my mom, who just taught me to think creatively. That's really helped me too. And then my mother-in-law, Tracy, who just is fearless and just taught me to go for things and not be afraid and just think big. So I would say that those three in particular.
Were some great, great examples, powerful women, family. I love that. That's amazing. And let's talk about your journey. So how did you go from off-grid farming, which that's a whole other topic that I want to talk about that as well, to creating Gingerbug?
Yeah, it really sort of is a unconventional story. We moved to a small 5-acre piece of land. We had this grandiose idea of raising our kids, at least temporarily, off the grid. So it was a project that we took on as a family, and we root cellared. We had no electricity, so no refrigeration. So we had a root cellar, and then we would store food accordingly to our setup. So fermenting became a huge part of our life, and eating straight from the garden. And even, we hand pumped our water. It was the whole shebang, and it was a really beautiful time in our life. A really, really amazing way to start the kids off in the world in a really simple way. As it turned out, it was really hard for us to make a go of things. As first generation farmers, our life is beautiful, but it was really challenging. We have 5 kids. So we were growing vegetables and selling all kinds of beautiful things at farmers markets. And one weekend, I had a low harvest of vegetables. So in a panic to sort of fill up my market booth, I brought some jars of our ginger beer to the market, and it sold really well. And so we had a discussion as a family following that, and we decided to pivot and start a drink business, and then just farm just for fun for our family. So we kind of got into it without knowing what we were getting into. So it's been a real steep learning curve the last 2 years.
Wow. Do you have a refrigerator now?
Yes, we do. We do, we do. Yeah, we're in a conventional property now. That sort of chapter is done, but, it was a really beautiful time, and it led to Gingerbug, so it was kinda cool.
Wow. And how did that off-grid farming, like, even work? And did your kids even know what the internet was? Like, how let's get into that a little bit because I think that's fascinating.
Yeah, they absolutely knew what the internet was. They we had phones and we had cars, and they've always done extracurricular activities, but they really didn't have much screen time, and that was something that I really was important to me at the time. I've kind of fallen away a little bit because I've gotten so busy with the business, so I'm not as strict about it as I used to be. But they certainly were raised in a little bit of a different environment than a lot of kids. We're more mainstream now, but it was a cool time for sure.
Fantastic. And you mentioned you have 5 kids, you have a 2-year-old. When did you start Gingerbug?
Yeah, we started Gingerbug when I was actually pregnant with Gabriel. And nothing was really planned out properly when we decided to pivot from farming. So we had a lot on our plate. When we actually launched the brand, he was a couple of months old. So it was, a lot of taking him along everywhere that we went to trade shows, other farmers markets. He was always with us. And it really wasn't planned properly, but we went for it anyways.
He probably became your biggest mascot and cheerleader and point of passion, so that's fantastic. So one of the things I was gonna mention, so building a business with kids, I remember that both times that I was pregnant, those were 2 of the best years of my business, like the biggest sales, so just wanted to get your take on that. So yes, maybe you didn't plan it right, but what were your thoughts on that? And birthing a baby and then birthing a business?
Yeah, it really wasn't, like I said, planned properly, but when we made the decision to launch Gingerbug, we wanted to go for it right away. We didn't want to wait until after Gabriel was born. We wanted to go. So, we didn't really put that much thought into it, but I wouldn't recommend it. Like, I wouldn't people people say all the time to me, "How did you do it?" And you have all these kids, and the truth is it was really, really hard on the kids, and I underestimated the toll that it would take on our family. So I wish that I had, like, all these great stories. I mean, there's been great times where they've come on sales calls and they've been part of meetings with buyers. There's been great times, but it really, really was hard and really hard on the family as a whole, which we didn't
Mhm.
know it was gonna be when we started.
Mhm. Yeah, interesting. Okay. So what are some of the lessons that you've learned then? Like, did you know anything about starting a CPG brand, or was it literally like, let me learn everything that I can, let me speak to people? Did you have a background or you're just like start from scratch?
Yeah, we had no background. We had been entrepreneurs. We had built a construction business that we sold prior to farming, so we had always sort of worked for ourselves. I mean, both of us had jobs sometimes as well. So we weren't really we're risk takers, we're used to sort of trying to make a go of it. We're used to living really lean. We're not really afraid of that type of a thing. Um, no CPG experience, like no experience in the food industry. And I think in a sense, our naivety and our optimism helped us because had I known how hard it was going to be, I don't know if I would have started. I to be honest with you, I don't know because it's been so hard and such a steep learning curve, but we decided to just think as big as possible right from the beginning, and I think that that helped us. I mean, it did result in some mistakes. We missed a lot of things. We totally made a lot of mistakes, along the way, but I think our optimism and our lack of experience actually, like, worked to our advantage, at least in the very beginning.
More of the no fear because you didn't know what you're getting into.
Yeah, totally,
So I think
totally.
that's amazing. Why'd you call it Gingerbug?
Yeah, so a ginger bug is actually it's a real thing. So it's a lacto fermented starter culture that fermenters all across the world use to make authentic probiotic ginger beer. So if you're making fermented probiotic ginger beer, you're always starting with a ginger bug. So that was what our product was in the beginning. It was a fermented probiotic ginger beer. So the name obviously was completely suitable for that. And since then, as we've scaled and we've commercialized, we've switched to being a prebiotic and a more fiber-based beverage. It's not fermented anymore, but it still all began with that very first Gingerbug that we made at our farm. So yeah, it all began with the bug, we say.
I love that name, amazing. So you were on Dragon's Den. That's pretty exciting. So let's talk about how you ended up on Dragon's Den, the process, and what it was like pitching in front of the judges. I'm sure it was nerve-wracking and just some of the lessons that you learned.
Yeah, it was an amazing experience, and I have only positive things to say about the CBC and all of their team. They made it so much fun, so comfortable. We still go to so many of their events. We're doing the sort of the audition tour with them this month in March. We're speaking at a university, and it was a fantastic experience. But basically, we just did a video pitch, sent it in, and then we got called to audition in front of the producers, where you kind of just do a quick pitch to them, and they decide if they're going to be good for the show. And funny story, so obviously up in Grey County, there's so much snow in the winters at times. So the morning of our audition to the producers, we had about 2 feet in snow. We had to get out of our driveway. It's a kilometer long with the baby strapped to us on the snowmobile, and it was, really, really crazy. We made it there, we did our pitch, it was terrible. We did the worst job ever. It was very flat, it was very uninteresting, and in a last ditch effort, because I really wanted to be on the show, I just spilled it about how we came on the snowmobile, and then we had a baby, and we're really weird, and if you put us on the show, we won't disappoint. And they actually put us on. So, it was kind of a funny experience, but, and then, of course, the day of pitching to the actual Dragons, which happened about 2 months after that, it was a experience of a lifetime.
Did you get a deal?
We got a deal. Yes, we actually went
Oh,
in there, we got, there was 2 competing offers, exactly what we had come into the den for, one from Manjeet for 200,000 and one from Arlene for 200,000, and, I mean, we would have loved to work with both of them, but at the time, Arlene felt more suitable because she specialized in helping young emerging brands, so, that was the plan from the beginning, so it was really great.
and how has her involvement since shaped your company?
Yeah, so we actually didn't end up doing the deal, and I think that's something that a lot of people are surprised by, that, most deals on the show actually don't go through. I think people sometimes think, like, you leave the studio and then they, like, cut us a check for 200 grand and I grab it as we go out the door, but it's a really long process. It's a really slow process, and by the time, it had sort of come through, Arlene and her team, they decided it was a little bit early for them, but the cool thing is that we're still in communication with Arlene. We've met with her. I just saw her a couple of weeks ago, actually. She's a tremendous supporter of our brand, and, when the timing's right on both ends, I think it's possible that we might end up working together, but she's, offered us mentorship and is just been really, really awesome, to be honest with you.
Oh,
And the other thing was, as a result of getting those deals, because it was taking so long in the due diligence, we were able to go out and raise capital at that valuation from angel investors. So we ended up going out and raising $350,000 at that valuation as a result of the deals on the show. So that was a really positive spin-off too.
what a great story, and thanks for sharing that because I think that's really important for other brands and companies to know exactly that process and that evaluation that's now on TV or is about to be on TV, and then you can then use that to, raise funds elsewhere. So that's amazing. Good for you. Wow, fantastic. It's great. What are you hoping to do with your brand?
Yeah, we're on a mission to get our brand out to as many Canadians as possible. So, one thing we're really, really proud of is that every can has real ginger juice in, and it's something that's so, so good for people. So, we want to get the brand as big and as strong and as solid as we possibly can, as quick as we can. So, and it's a real balancing act. But when we decided to, put everything on the line and go into it, we thought as big as possible. And we hope, to get into more retail outlets across Canada. And then eventually, when the timing is right, move into the States as well.
Mm, Paris. That's another
Yeah,
story.
I know. I know. It's a whole other topic.
Anyways, why should people try and purchase Gingerbug?
Yeah, I think, small changes make a big difference. And I've noticed that with my own health. Every time that I've able to make a small change to substitute something healthier for something less healthy, it really has gone a long way. So I think it's an easy transition to substitute one of our beverages in for a commercial soda pop because it has a mainstream flavor appeal. You're getting the ginger juice, you're getting the fiber, you're getting the apple cider vinegar, you're getting so many things in this little can, and it doesn't taste weird. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't put any stevia in it. There's nothing weird in it. It's just made with whole food ingredients. So, um, I feel like it's not a difficult change to make. It is a premium product though. It's not 50 cents a can or something like Canada Dry. So that's an adjustment, but if small changes can go a long way.
Mhm, and how does it help the gut if people don't know?
Yeah, so we have, fiber in there, which is absolutely amazing for digestion, and then real organic ginger juice, which is unbelievable for digestion. It's, great for the immune system as well. So it's a prebiotic beverage. So it's, prebiotics feed probiotics. So ideally, you wanna have both of them in your diet.
Okay, great. I don't think people totally some people understand, but there's prebiotic, there's probiotic, there's even postbiotics, which I'm now learning about, so
Yes. Yes.
it's fantastic. So good, fantastic, amazing. How has it been living far from the city? You mentioned that snowmobile story. Living so far from the city and trying to build a brand. Has that sort of impacted your growth? Has it improved your growth? Tell me a bit about it.
Yeah, a bit of both actually. I found in the early stages of the brand, it really worked in our favor to be part of this tight-knit rural community. My family has been sort of in Grey County for several generations. My heart is here. I absolutely love it. And when we launched the brand, within 2 weeks, we were able to get into about 40 retailers right here in our region. People really rallied behind us because I know, right? They were so excited that a product was coming out of our region, and we really felt that support. And it did so much for us because we were able to leverage all of those accounts to get accounts, further out in Guelph and Toronto and Kitchener Waterloo. And it kind of was a bit of a ripple effect. So I will forever be grateful to the retailers in Great County here who took us. Moving on from that, it has impacted us in a sense. A lot of the action happens in the city. So whenever we're going on a trade show, it's a 2.5 hour drive. And really, you need to be out as much as possible and networking and going to these things, especially when you're raising capital. And we try to do that as much as we possibly can, but it really is a struggle, especially with our family setup for us to be everywhere where we need to be. We're not freewheeling people. We have to, coordinate to get there with sitters and everything. So it is a bit hard to be that far removed from the city. But I mean, it's not too bad, just over 2 hours, but we feel it for sure.
Okay. Interesting. I love that story of the local support. That's fantastic. And they really, I guess, launched you guys into retailers, which is beautiful.
They really did, and actually how it really happened was, when we had our product and we didn't have any retailers yet, and we hadn't even asked I didn't do my market research to ask people if they would take it. I just optimistically assumed they would, and then I thought, "Oh my gosh, we've gotta get into, like, our first how do you get into your first one?" So I sat down behind my computer and I emailed the 3 retailers who supported us when we were farmers, by selling our heirloom tomatoes, and I wrote them and I was like, "Hi guys, it's me again. Would you sell this drink?" And they did. They took us, and they're like 3 of the most reputable retailers in the region. So because they believed in us and they took us, then it was again a ripple effect. And we got to that number 40 and then on and on.
So, how the heck do you learn? So, you go from farming construction. How the heck do you learn all this stuff about CPG and immerse yourself? And I'm assuming you're still learning, but how do you do all that?
Yeah, we're still learning and still making so many mistakes. So, I probably should have invested in a consultant in the beginning, to be honest, but we're just we're just such optimists that we just think we can figure it all out. We eventually do, but a couple mistakes here and there later. So our setup right now is I have a couple of people that have experience in the industry. Our food broker, for example, Amy Rempel, who's amazing, and so she has a lot of knowledge. So she handles sort of the nitty gritty specific work. But what I have found in this industry is it's so much about the brand. So if you have a good brand, that's like That's a it's a must. You can't make it without a good brand, I don't think. My opinion. Brand. Product, if your product's amazing, that's number 2. Number 3, so much about relationships, getting to know people with FaceTime, getting to know the key decision makers, going to events, just showing up and showing up and showing up. And, it's that whole, like, saying, like, the power in hanging around and just, like, not giving up, right? So it's so much about attitude and just the willingness to just keep going. So, yeah, we're always learning though.
Amazing. So that leads me to my next question, which you may have answered already, but what do you think the biggest lesson you've learned creating Gingerbug?
Oh my gosh. I I don't know. I think, to take your time a little bit, and that is so hard for entrepreneurs to do. We just thought so big and wanted to go so fast, and there is merit in that for sure. But I think had we slowed down a little bit and been a little bit more careful, we would have actually ended up saving us quite a bit of time and quite a bit of money.
Mm,
So try to try not to just like run
mm,
right out of the gate if possible.
fair. And then again, you might have answered this question, but do you have a piece of advice that you could give, an entrepreneur that's thinking about starting a CPG brand or a food brand?
Yeah, be ready to raise capital. That is something that I didn't realize. I didn't realize how much money it actually takes to be in here and to, go against these key players. And that money is going to have to come from somewhere. It's going to have to come from you or through loans or through angel investors. So it's going to cost you way more than you expect. I mean, you can have what I call sort of a lifestyle brand, which is absolutely fantastic too if you want to build it really slowly over time. Um, and you can do that where you're more focused on profits today. But if you're looking to get into major retailers and go get national distribution, everything, it's going to cost you. So be ready right out of the gate and don't leave it till the last minute, like I did a few times of having to raise money like in
Yesterday.
in the final hour. Yeah.
Wow. And then how do you figure out, equity and all that kind of stuff? That must be a whole other thing to think about.
Yeah, it is for sure. And, there are people that do this professionally to help you figure out valuation. And that was actually one of the questions that we got asked when we were on the den, because when we went on the den, we had basically no sales because we had just started. And they said, "How the heck did you come up with this valuation?" And the answer was, "We made it up." And we, at the time, we thought if somebody paid us $2 million for this company, would we sell it? And the answer was no. So we felt that we had that was the value based on, the key accounts that we had sold, but it can be tricky. And right now we're in the process of closing our seed round and we'll be raising our valuation, and so these are conversations that we're having over here right now. And, it depends. Like we're waiting on some answers from some other key national chains right now. And so that, getting those key accounts will affect our valuation moving forward too.
Very exciting. Thank you for sharing all of this. This is wonderful. Are you ready for the lightning round?
Sure.
All right. Amazing. So, whatever comes to your mind, they're just quick fire questions. We will go. One, two, three. Here we go. Sweet or savory?
Sweet.
Fact or fiction?
Fiction.
Good stuff. Fire or ice?
Fire.
Okay. Favorite thing to do first thing in the morning?
Have a cup of tea.
What kind of tea?
Oh, I'm ashamed to admit it. I drink Tetley Orange Pico. It's so bad for me. I gotta get off of it, but it's it's a
Like me,
problem.
coffee. It's okay. It's okay. It's all good. No judgment. What keeps you calm?
Am I ever calm? I don't
I
know.
love that. Fair. Okay, that's fine.
Wine? I don't
Wine, that
know.
works. Wine in your Tetley. That works. If you can go back to any era, what would it be?
Any era in history?
Era in history. Yep.
Yeah, totally the era of Anna Green Gables. So what's that? Early 1900s, I think? Yeah, for
Uh-huh.
sure.
Love it.
Yeah.
Amazing. I
Yeah.
love that series. Oh, that's so good.
I know, right?
That sounds yeah. Who is starring in that movie about your life?
My daughter.
Oh,
She's a
okay.
great
Okay. Okay, fantastic. What is the biggest lesson you wanna teach your kids?
to not be afraid, to, think big and don't be afraid.
Beautiful. That's a great, great lesson. How do you wanna change the world?
I wanna inspire other people to think big and to go for their dreams and to not be afraid of, rules or red tape or anything like that, to just if you wanna do something, to go for it and not waste that opportunity.
Beautiful. So I have a follow-up question to that. Do you believe in the answer no? Or are you gonna keep going even if you get the no?
Keep going. I
Right.
just got a no yesterday, but we're gonna keep going.
That's fantastic. Last question. What's next?
What's next? Well, we're just, our family is like on moving on to a new chapter. We're moving into a new house. It's sort of a new stage in life for all of us personally, things that we're going through. And then the brand, it's the way I say it is our crazy mania seed round years are done and we've survived. And now it's time to start running a proper business and, expand that retail reach and do all the boring things like, paperwork and all these things that I sort of put off aside while I was so busy selling the last 2 years. But yeah, it's a new chapter and I'm looking forward to seeing the brand mature and professionalize and be taken even a little bit more seriously in the CPG industry.
Love it. Thank you so much for being on the show. I can't wait to try Gingerbug because I have not yet. I encourage everyone else to support local, even if you're not local. Try and get your hands on a can or two or a case or three, but enjoy because it's good for you too. So why not? And I can't wait to see everything to come to fruition. So thank you, thank you, thank you for being on the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. We'll do it again. Thank you. The Maverick Makers podcast is sponsored by Maverick Makers Content Creation Collective. We fuel your content pipeline through video, photography, design, and editorial. Let's connect to your audiences and make more sales. Learn more at maverickmakersco.com.